Most Jeep owners spend hundreds of dollars every year paying shops to clean parts they could have cleaned themselves in minutes. Even worse, they ignore the few components that quietly destroy engines, transmissions, and brakes when left dirty. Today we're counting down the 8 Jeep parts you should clean regularly to avoid expensive repairs, and the number 1 could save your life. We start all the way up at number 8, your throttle body. Think of the throttle body as the gatekeeper for all the air going into your engine. When you press the gas, a little flap inside called the butterfly valve swings open and lets air rush in to mix with your fuel. Over time, oily vapors from inside the engine drift back through the intake, mix with fine dust, and leave a sticky brown film right on that flap. As the gunk builds up, it chokes the airflow and confuses the computer. That's when your Jeep starts idling rough, shaking at red lights, or feeling sluggish when you're crawling under 30 miles an hour. This is where the money gets silly. Most shops now charge around $140 an hour just for labor, and a Jeep dealer piles another $20 or $30 on top of that. So they'll happily charge you $100 to $200 to clean this, and some dealers even fold it into a $250 fuel system service you don't really need. Let them talk you into replacing the whole throttle body, and you're looking at close to $600, sometimes more. One Wrangler owner got quoted $1,700 for the job. But you can do the cleaning yourself with an $8 can of throttle body cleaner and a rag. Spray it on the flap, wipe the grime away, and you're done. One big warning though. Newer Wranglers use a drive-by-wire setup, which means the flap is run by a motor, not a cable. Never force it open with your fingers because you can wreck that motor. Spray it gently instead and let the cleaner do the work. And a little honesty here because a lot of Jeep guys go overboard with this. The 3.6 Pentastar is basically a computer with big tires, and plenty of owners have run these past 100,000 miles, barely touching the throttle body. So don't panic, and don't let a service writer scare you into a giant bill. A quick spray once a year is plenty. That saves you a fortune, but the next one hides behind a myth even good mechanics still repeat. Number 7 is your engine air filter, and it comes with a lie attached. You've heard it 100 times. A dirty air filter kills your gas mileage, so swap it out to save fuel. That sounds about right, but it's dead wrong for your Jeep. The Department of Energy paid Oak Ridge National Laboratory to test this for real, and they found that on modern fuel-injected engines, a clogged air filter has no real effect on your miles per gallon. Your Jeep's computer just adjusts the fuel to match the air, so the mileage barely moves. So why clean it at all? There are 2 real reasons. A dirty filter does steal your acceleration, so your Jeep feels lazy when you stomp the gas. And more important, that filter is the only thing standing between fine grit and the inside of your engine. Let it clog and tear, and that grit starts scratching everything up in there, which is the kind of damage that ends engines. Jeep says change it around every 30,000 miles, but if you wheel in dust and dirt like most Jeep folks do, Jeep's own advice for rough, dusty driving drops that down to every 5,000 miles. One owner found his filter packed black at under 10,000 miles of trail driving. The job is stupid easy. Pop open the airbox, lift the filter out, blow it clean with compressed air, or drop in a fresh one for $60 to $90. A neat trick a lot of trail guys use is running a washable dry filter and keeping a spare, so they can swap in a clean one for the drive home after a dusty run. Just remember, good filtration shows up in engine oil test results, so this cheap little part protects the most expensive thing you own. The next one's even simpler, and hardly anyone thinks to check it. Number 6 is sitting right on top of your battery. Pop your hood and look at the battery posts. If you see a crusty white, blue, or greenish powder building up around them, that's corrosion, and it's slowly strangling the power flowing out of your battery. That gunk acts like a roadblock for electricity. It leads to slow cranks, hard starts, flickering dash lights, and weird electrical gremlins that'll have you chasing problems that were never really there. Jeeps make this worse than most cars. All that trail vibration and water exposure speeds the corrosion along, and a battery only lasts 3 to 4 years anyway. So checking those terminals once a year is just smart. The fix costs almost nothing. Disconnect the negative cable first, always, then mix a spoon of baking soda with a little water, scrub the powder off with an old toothbrush or a wire brush, wipe it dry, and reconnect. A shop charges you around $40 to $50 for that. You can do it for the price of the baking soda already in your kitchen. Want it to stay clean longer? Smear a thin bit of grease over the terminals after you scrub them, or drop a felt washer on each post. and that blocks the acid vapor that starts the crust in the first place. That fix is quick and cheap. This next one is the opposite, buried so deep it's almost mean. Number 5 is your PCV valve. Your PCV valve pulls pressure and nasty gases out of the bottom of your engine and feeds them back up to be burned. When it clogs with sludge, that pressure has nowhere to go, so it starts pushing oil out through your seals and gaskets, giving you leaks, a rough idle, burning oil, and yet another check engine light. Ignore it, and those little oil leaks turn into real repair bills. On the 3.6 Pentastar, this thing is a nightmare to reach, because the engine sits long ways and the valve hides on the back of the passenger side valve cover, jammed near the firewall and the battery. Mechanics genuinely laugh when you say you're doing it yourself, and you'll donate a little knuckle skin to get it out. The upside is the part costs about $16, while a shop wants $130 to nearly $200 to swap it. Plan on cleaning or replacing it somewhere between 35,000 and 60,000 miles. And if you've got the Turbo 2.0 engine, check it even sooner, since turbo motors gunk these up faster. There's even a Jeep quirk where steep climbs and drops can pull oil right through this system into your intake, which is why some hardcore off-roaders add a small catch can to stop it. Clean the valve and its hose, and if it rattles wrong or feels stuck when you shake it, drop in a fresh one. That one's buried deep. The next one lives in the easiest spot of all. Real quick, if you want the complete Jeep maintenance roadmap, check out my 500,000-mile Jeep blueprint. It covers the schedules, preventative maintenance, and repair tips every owner should know. The link's in the description below. Number 4 hides behind your glove box. This is your cabin air filter, and the part that'll surprise you is what's sitting in that slot. A ton of Jeeps have an empty slot where this filter is supposed to go. On the older JK Wranglers, most only got a filter from the factory if they came with automatic climate control. The rest left the lot with the tray sitting there completely empty. Older TJ Wranglers didn't even get a slot, so if you own one of these, there's a real chance you've been sucking raw trail dust and pollen straight into your face for years without knowing it. Even if yours has one, it clogs fast off-road. One owner found his AC so packed with dust that barely any air could get through, which is why his AC felt so weak. You'll notice it as a musty smell, foggy windows, or vents that barely push air. On the newer JL and Gladiator, Jeep says change it every 20,000 miles, or every 10 to 15,000 if you live in dust. The job takes 10 minutes. Drop the glove box down, pull the old filter, and slide a fresh one in for $15 to $40. On the older JKs, the filter comes in 2 halves, so you pull one side out, slide the other over, and pull it out too. A shop charges $70 to $90 for the same thing. If you're stuck in traffic or near wildfire smoke a lot, spend a few extra bucks on a carbon version because it kills smells on top of catching dust. Breathing clean air is nice, but this next part is where nearly every Jeep video slips up. Number 3 is the sensor everybody cleans wrong, your map sensor. Search how to clean your Jeep sensors and you'll get a flood of videos telling you to spray out your MAF sensor, your mass airflow sensor. The problem is simple, your Wrangler doesn't have one. Jeep uses a MAP sensor instead, which reads the pressure inside your intake and tells the computer how much fuel and timing to give the engine. When it goes bad, you get a rough idle, poor mileage, hesitation, stalling, black smoke, and a check engine light. Now the honest part. On the gas Wranglers, that MAP sensor is a sealed little unit, and spraying cleaner into it can wreck the tiny sensor inside. So don't clean it. It's cheap and easy to just replace, usually $150 to $200, held on by one small Torx screw, and swappable in 10 minutes. The one exception is the EcoDiesel Wrangler. That engine cakes the sensor in soot from the exhaust system, so owners clean or replace it every 30 to 50,000 miles. One diesel owner felt his power come right back after doing it around 42,000 miles. Either way, MAP sensors tend to fail hardest between 125 and 150,000 miles, so keep an eye on it. That's one small part, but the next job is the biggest of them all. Number 2 is the whole underbelly of your Jeep. This is the one that's pure Jeep, and it's the one people forget the most. After a muddy trail, all that clay packs into your radiator fins like cement. Airflow drops, and your Jeep starts running hot for no obvious reason. One JL owner went mudding, started overheating on the drive home, and got hit with a $1,000 dealer bill because mud in the radiator isn't covered by warranty. And do it before the mud dries, because trail clay bakes as hard as concrete, and once it sets in the fins, you'll never chip it out without pulling the whole radiator. In the winter, road salt clings to the frame and skid plates and slowly eats them into rust. So a simple hose down of the whole underside after every rough or salty drive saves your Jeep's bones. Just go easy with the pressure washer, because too much force bends the fins and makes the problem worse. But the sneakiest one is your axle breather. Every time you cross deep water, the pressure can suck water right past that breather and down into your axle. The gear oil in there turns milky, it stops protecting anything, and it grinds your bearings down until they fail. Jeep flat out says to change that axle fluid right away after any deep water or heavy mud. So next time you wash, spray the radiator fins gently from behind, blast the mud off the skid plates, and pull the fill plug on your axle to check for that milky look. All of that keeps your Jeep alive. This last one keeps you alive, because when it fails, people get hurt. And that brings us to number 1, your brake caliper slide pins. These little pins let your brake caliper slide back and forth so it can squeeze the pads evenly against the rotor. They're packed in grease and tucked inside rubber boots to stay slick. But when you cross water and plow through mud, that grime washes the grease out and lets rust creep in. The pins seize up, the caliper stops sliding, and now your brakes are fighting themselves. A seized pin wears one pad down to nothing while the other barely touches. It makes your Jeep pull to one side, chirp or clunk, and it can warp your rotors from the constant heat. Let it go long enough, and the caliper itself locks up, which turns into a replacement bill of over $700. Jeep's own manual says to grease these pins around every 18,000 miles. But honestly, do it once a year and after any muddy or deep water trip. The rear pins are the ones that seize the worst, so give those extra attention. The cleaning is straightforward. Pull the caliper off with 2 bolts, wipe the pins down with brake cleaner and a wire brush, and coat them in fresh brake grease that runs about $19 a bottle. One tip from guys who wheel in water a lot: use a silicone-based grease instead of regular grease, because the normal stuff washes away and dries out, while silicone stays put and shrugs off water. And if the little rubber boots are torn, replace them, because they only cost a few dollars, and a split boot is what let the water in to begin with. Get this one right, and you'll never have to wonder if your Jeep will stop when you really need it to. So that's the 8 Jeep parts you should be cleaning if you want to avoid expensive repairs and keep your Wrangler running at its best. Which one surprised you the most, and which one are you checking first? Let me know down in the comments. I read every one. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more Jeep tips that can save you thousands. And if you want to keep learning, click the video on your screen right now. I'll see you over there.